soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You are about to embark upon the Great Crusade. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
With great respect, I'll explore some of the strategic decisions of D-Day, much like moves in a complex game of chess. Operation Overlord was planned months in advance, with meticulous coordination between land, air, and sea forces. The Allies aimed to mislead the German High Command through a series of deception operations, including Operation Fortitude, which convinced the Germans that the invasion would occur at Pas-de-Calais, far from Normandy. This strategy closely mirrors Legal's Mate in chess, where the opponent is misled into thinking the focus of the attack is on one part of the board, but the real threat is elsewhere. In Legal's Mate, the pieces are positioned to suggest a different plan, but the final blow comes unexpectedly in the form of a checkmate. The Allies employed a similar tactic by spreading misinformation about the location of the invasion, convincing the Germans that the attack would come at Pas-de-Calais. While the Germans focused their forces there, the real strike was being prepared in Normandy. At midnight on June 6th, the first phase of the invasion began. Over 13,000 paratroopers dropped behind enemy lines to secure key positions, such as bridges and crossroads. The success of this mission was critical to preventing German reinforcements from reaching the beaches. Many of these soldiers were scattered due to adverse weather conditions, some landing far from their intended drop zones. In Game 16 of the 1985 World Championship, Kasparov positioned knight on d3, deep in Karpov's territory, controlling key squares and disrupting his opponent's plans. Similarly, the paratroopers were deployed behind enemy lines to take control of strategic locations. The landings at Utah Beach faced immediate challenges. Strong tides pushed the landing craft nearly a mile off course, but General Theodore Roosevelt Jr. made the decisive call to press forward, famously stating, "We'll start the war from here." Just as Mikhail Tal relentlessly pressed his attack against Hans Joachim Heck in his famous Mission Impossible game, constantly keeping the initiative and not allowing his opponent to recover. Roosevelt's decision to push forward at Utah Beach, despite landing off course, was a display of seizing the moment. The Allies maintained their aggressive stance, keeping the Germans on the defensive and refusing to back down. Omaha Beach was a scene of immense sacrifice, partly due to the ineffective bombings the night before, where fog and low clouds caused bombs to miss their targets, unlike at other beaches where the bombardments were more precise. Many amphibious tanks also sank in the rough seas before reaching the shore, leaving the infantry exposed. As a result, nearly 90% of the first wave of American soldiers were lost to intense German fire. Despite the overwhelming challenges, the survivors pushed forward and secured a critical foothold for the overall success of the invasion. As a continuation of Tal's relentless attack in the Mission Impossible game, he made a bold sacrifice to maintain the initiative and break through his opponent's defenses. However, the real-life sacrifices at Omaha Beach go far beyond any chess analogy. The soldiers who gave their lives did so with unparalleled courage, allowing future forces to advance. While sacrifice is a concept shared in chess and military strategy, the gravity of loss in war stands in a category of its own, beyond any comparison to a game. I don't have words to describe what's like. I started this journey knowing I had to be super respectful about it, but I didn't anticipate how impactful would be to be in the fucking place, man. And they were just kids. I'm older than most of them. Jeez. At Pointe du Hoc, US Army Rangers were tasked with climbing 100-foot cliffs to neutralize German artillery aimed at the beaches. Despite facing fierce resistance, the Rangers climbed the cliffs, reached the guns, and disabled them. This is comparable to the infiltration of Rooks on the 7th rank. Just as the Rooks penetrated deep into enemy lines, overwhelming key defenses, the Rangers' bold move at Pointe du Hoc caught the Germans off guard and secured a critical position. This infiltration, much like a Rook on the 7th rank, disrupted the enemy and paved the way for the success of the larger operation. By the end of the day, despite heavy losses, the Allies had gained a foothold on all 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. Over the next few weeks, these beachheads would expand, allowing for the eventual liberation of France. The Normandy invasion was a turning point in the war, marking the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. In chess, the endgame is where the final strategic moves are made to secure a victory. For the Allies, D-Day marked the beginning of their endgame in Europe.